Philip Siracusa, sponsored by Carnation, airing live on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This show's entrance has been edited, produced, and directed by Gwen from Perfect Trust Productions, LLC. You can find us at perfecttrustproductions.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night's segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Phil Siracusa. We are broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. You'll have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to our YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio, or International Public Radio. You can also go into all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, also Twitch, SoundCloud, and Podbeam. And you can also go over to our group, Horsefly Chronicles Radio, and get in if you're not. And if you have any questions for our guests, please ask and get into chat so we can address your questions. So today, guys, we have an amazing guest right in front of us. So please welcome Miss Vanessa Hogle to the show. She is an amazing author of multiple books on her life story and the paranormal. She's been on so many podcasts and radio shows. She's also an amazing medium, and she's also been to our house. So tonight we're going to talk about everything from her books and her experiences in the paranormal, her trips to Ireland. So please, let's welcome Vanessa to the show.
Welcome.
Yay!
Hello.
So glad to have you on. It's been a minute.
It's been a few minutes, but we're back.
Yes. So, I mean, if anyone that doesn't know you, which so many people do, why don't you take us to like the beginning, like maybe like the first, paranormal experience? How did you, get into the paranormal and really start wanting to write all of your books?
Okay.
Which are so many.
I know, right? Reader's Digest condensed version. I had my first paranormal experience when I was around 2, around my second birthday. And I was very lucky because it was my grandmother. Mm-hmm. I was born on her birthday, March 14th, 1972, and she died February 5th, 1974. So she was the first one that I can remember that was coming to me. Now, long story short, this kind of runs in my family, both sides, but primarily in my mother's side, which this was the grandmother, which my mother's mother. Moving forward from that, it just kind of came all the time. So, I mean, I didn't think it was weird. Yeah. I'm young when this is happening and I'm seeing things I shouldn't see. And I didn't think it was weird. I figured everybody could do this. And I still think everybody can to a certain degree. It didn't get really bizarre until I got into my early teens. And that's when I became the scary girl. Mm-hmm. And you know what that feels like. That's loads of fun. Thank you to everybody that does that to people, because that's so not cool. Yeah. So I squished all of it down, because I had an experience that was very, very unpleasant. And so I kind of squished it all down and stayed that way, half a person, for as long as I could, until I had my son when I was 30. And keep in mind, things were coming through even before then. But when I was 30 and I had my son, and by the time I was about 31 and a half, he started showing signs of being able to do this. I said, you know what? we're not doing this. I'm going to teach him what I know.
Yeah.
we're going to connect on that level, because he was able to see and communicate with things that wouldn't communicate with me.
Hmm.
So, and I know you know what that's like as well. So I said, you know what? No, I'm kicking the door off the broom closet. And that was, I'm 50. So that was 18 years ago. So my whole life, but primarily in the public for 18 years.
Okay. It's a
It's
long
a
time.
heck of 18 years too.
So, tell us, how did you start, like, what made you really want to start writing?
I had somebody that I had investigated with come to me that was starting their own publishing house. And I'd investigated for them, or with them, both actually, for and with. And I had done a lot of different, like, remote viewing for him and everything else. And he asked me if I would write down my experiences. And at first, I'm sitting there thinking, who's going to care? I mean, who wants to read that? Because I sound like a fruitcake. My old boss used to call me her Fruit Loop and her bowl of Cheerios.
Oh my God.
I know, right? Which is actually kind of cute and endearing when you think about it, but it's still, I was a Fruit Loop. But I decided, okay, I'm going to go for it. What's the worst people can do? Not buy it? Okay. No skin off my back. I'm not out any money. So I wrote Soulscapes. And that was difficult because I put in investigations that I had done, remote viewing that I had done, meditations, dreams, things of that nature. And I did the drawings. I put the drawings in that I had done for these as well, the automatic drawing for different investigations and such. And I'm so happy to say my drawing has improved greatly, because it looked like a 3-year-old did it in that book. And I'm proud I did the book, but I'm not proud of the book, if that makes any sense.
I guess it does, because it was your first book, so it was kind of like
It
new.
sucked.
I didn't think it sucked at all. So I'm just putting that out there, and I've told you that before. I thought it was good. I mean, it was, but you probably think that because it's your first book. I mean, it's a new experience too.
Well, and I went through a really hard time writing it, not writing the actual book, but the relationship that I was in at the time was very emotionally and verbally abusive.
It was hard to focus.
When you feel like you're poo and you're being told that you're poo, you think you're writing poo, And so I was in that frame of mind. And then the darn thing was a bestseller. Go figure. Amazon bestseller, y'all. Big difference between Amazon bestseller and New York Times bestsellers list. So don't get it twisted, okay? I'm not that girl, but you could make me that way. We'll talk about that later. But I was proud I did it. And it helped people. Go figure.
Yeah.
Who would have thought it, And that encouraged me, plus getting rid of him, that encouraged me to write Giving Up the Ghost, which was my parabiography. And that was basically things that I felt, and now not everything, but things that I felt comfortable sharing from a little girl up until that point in my life. That book, not Soulscapes, but Giving Up the Ghost, along with the ones after it, Walking with Ghost. What was after that? Rebel Witch, Diary of a Psychic Loser Magnet. All of those in their entirety are in my most recent book. They would have burned me with new material. So even though those books aren't available under that same label that they were previously on, they are in their entirety in my most recent book available.
How big is that book? It must be really big. Are you talking about, like, how many books did you write?
Okay, so there's 5 in that one.
Okay.
There's 5 in that one, but I've written 7, and I have stories in 4 more.
Okay.
That aren't my books. And I'm working on book number 8 right now. So that book itself, They Would Have Burned Me, is just shy in paperback of 600 pages.
Okay.
And then on the Kindle, it's much less.
Yeah.
It's much less on the Kindle.
Phil always used to say that how he admired the way that you wrote the books because they're easy, small books too.
Yeah.
And that's going to make the buyer, the reader go buy the other one.
Well, yeah, and that was what I tried to do with this last one. Even though when you look at it, if you pull it up on Amazon, you're going to say, "Holy crap, she's asking for $36 for this book." Well,
yeah.
Here's the thing. Average cost of a book is $16.
Yeah.
This is 5 books.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole different. Oh, no, but I understood why you did that. That's a whole different thing. But I like the idea of all like the little books. And I know when Phil wrote his book, it was a little bit bigger, and it's good to do it that way.
Well, I've always figured that for my stories, I can't speak for anybody else, but for my stories, the less I try to pump them up and the more factual I stay, the cleaner it is, the easier it is to read, and the more people will appreciate how I put myself out there. Because let's face it, y'all, if anyone reads Giving Up the Ghost or Walking with Ghosts, they are well within their rights to think that I am certifiable. They are. I wouldn't judge a soul if they thought I was crazy. I really wouldn't. And matter of fact, I would think they were crazy for not thinking I was crazy. But that's why.
But it was your life. It was your story. I mean,
exactly. Well, and that's why when I did Walking with Ghosts, and all of these are included as well in the most recent book, I had people write testimonies. And I said, I don't care what you write. If you write that I am nuttier than a fruitcake, aces. If you write I was the best thing since sliced bread, that's cool too. I don't care. Whatever your experience was with me, write it down. I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to change it. I'm not doing nothing. It's going straight to the publisher.
Right.
So they very well could have put, this woman is loony. But they didn't.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And it was all of those were from anyone who has either A, investigated with me, B, had me remote view for them, or C, had a reading by me. Each one was their personal experience with me, not just, oh, hey, I know this chick from Facebook and she seems pretty cool, and none of that.
Well, I have sent some people your way, and they just love you.
Thank you.
You're very accurate and all good things. But I knew that already.
And I try. I'm not tooting my own horn when I say I don't ever have anyone tell me that I'm wrong. I don't. Doesn't mean I couldn't be. And that's kind of what keeps me grounded, is knowing that whatever message I'm getting, whatever information I'm getting, I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And I would rather risk being wrong than trying to change what I'm going to tell you to fit the narrative. Only 2 times have I had somebody tell me, I don't know what you're talking about, Vanessa. And I'm going to tell you what those are just real quick. Okay. One, I was going to remote view for a team in England. And Carl, who was one of the investigators at the time, messaged me on WhatsApp, and he said, hey, we're going to investigate tonight. Not telling you where we're going because that was my rule. You can't tell me. And he said, what are you getting? And I was driving. I was on my way to work. And because I was in Oklahoma, so they were 6 hours ahead of me at the time. And I told him everything I was getting. And he said, doesn't really sound like where we're going, but I'll let you know what I find out. And I said, perfect, because I'm not changing it. And they contacted me that night where they had meant to go. They couldn't get into. Mm-hmm. So they had somebody else tell them about another place that they had never been. They went. That was the place I read.
Wow.
So I read the place they didn't even know they were going.
That's crazy.
Yeah. The other was a tarot reading I did, and the woman's like, She goes, I'm not really certain. I'm going to have to think on this. She called me an hour later and she goes, you're not going to believe this. And I said, what? And she goes, you read my sister. She was in the house an hour before they did the reading.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And it makes sense.
You know, I mean, but again, wasn't going to change it.
Yeah.
I get what I get. And that it's kind of like back in kindergarten, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Same thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna look up here, so don't mind me, so I can see. What does that say, Phil? There's somebody in chat.
Very compassionate, Bridget
Hi, Bridget.
Harrison,
you, honey.
especially with her readings.
Bridget Paris.
Oh, thank you, Bridget.
Well, she's saying that to Vanessa.
Oh, I better take that. I know that.
He's telling you thank you for me. Thank you very much, Bridget. She's a sweetheart.
And you are very true. Very, very true. Very true. Yes. Yes.
Let's talk about Ireland.
Yes.
Oh gosh, it was amazing.
Now,
If you
this is
you
the
need
second
to go.
time.
Huh?
This is the second time you went.
Third.
Okay. Do you want to
Yeah.
tell us about that one, or do you want to like just say like
Let's just give Ireland in general, because there's, granted, each time I've been for many, many days, I've been very blessed in that regard, but there's so much that it's hard to shove it all into even 8 days, 8 or 9 days. And this last time I was there for almost 11.
Yeah.
But it's so much different than here, because here it's all about finding the haunted location. Where are you going to go? I mean, where does everybody go? Where's the traffic at? You know, what's the popular place to go?
Mhm.
And over there, go anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is literally everywhere.
Kind of like Staten Island, or worse.
Girl, Staten Island is crazy.
I'll never forget that. But I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Staten Island has very bizarre energy. It's very strange. It's almost like you're in a time warp.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very strange. Ireland, it's I did back years ago when I had a blog, I did something called Paranormal Chinese Food, because we all know anytime you go and get Chinese food, depending on where you're at in the United States, it's geographic. It all changes based on geography. That dictates what's on the menu. Don't know why. In Wichita, Kansas, you get lemon chicken. In Oklahoma, you get sesame chicken or orange chicken. In Virginia, it's solely orange chicken, if you're a chicken gal like I am. So there's things you can't get. Paranormal activity is the same way. It depends on where you're at as to how spirit interaction is, how forward they are coming to you, what they'll tell you, their energy surrounding them. And in Ireland, they're so helpful. It's weird. It's weird. They're so helpful. It is rare. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it is rare that you get into a situation that you feel unsafe. Whereas I have felt unsafe in many a location in the United States. And I've been to 27 states and 5 countries. So, I mean, I've been a lot of places, you know, and even though they have such a tragic history with everything that country has been through, and the country could fit like in the size of Indiana, Northern Ireland, all the way down to the most southern point. I believe it can fit into the state of Indiana, filled with so much tragedy, so much heartache, but so much community and so much love and so much compassion that even when it's bad, I'm still okay with it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Are you saying that like there were spirits there helping you?
It's weird. It's and this is where I get into trouble. This is where I get into trouble, and I'm the worst about this. Is I will walk through any place, and I'm not, even if I've got a camera on me, I'm not that girl stating every single thing that's happening, because it's all happening right here. All of the communication is happening right here. And so hard for people that are with me to understand that. And I've been told many a time, you need to talk to us. You need to talk to us.
Keep up with you.
Well, and to tell people what's going on.
Yeah.
And when I'm in Ireland, in all honesty, that's my business, what's going on between me and them. And yes, they do communicate. They do come through to you. They do comfort you if you're having a hard time. They're just very loving. And the people that are living over there are the same way. So of course they're going to be that way when they pass.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a sense of community that you really don't feel or see here. No offense to America.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Maybe we should move to
Yeah.
Ireland. Is it expensive to live there?
Honestly, not any more expensive than it is to live here.
Yeah, that's
It
good.
really isn't. And I mean, a lot of people, I was told that for years because I always said, I want to go overseas. I want to go overseas. And people always told me, that's just crazy. It's so expensive. You can't afford to take a trip over there. And the very first trip I took was to England. And that airline ticket was very costly. It was. But I was able to do it because I had friends I was staying with.
Mhm.
You know, they're like my brothers and sisters over there now. I mean, I met them online. I love them to death.
Yeah.
And so I was able to do that. But the ticket was very costly. But the food and everything else over there, no different than it is here.
Yeah.
When it comes to cost, it just isn't. And same within Ireland. It's just like living over here. It's just in the Republic of Ireland, you're using euros, and in Northern Ireland, you're using pounds.
Yeah.
And the exchange rate is, for every dollar I spend here, it'd be like $1.05 in the Republic of Ireland.
Huh.
For every dollar I spend here, it would be like $1.25 in Northern Ireland.
Okay.
So, and that exchange rate always changes. So, but it's not bad. Matter of fact, I got to toss this in there. Okay. Matter of fact, I talked with May Hernan the other day. She is the one who owns Secret Ireland Tours, who actually had me as their ambassador for the tour over Halloween. And she has asked me to do another one in Northern Ireland.
Wow.
We're going to do the spring of 2024.
Yes, I think I read that. Well,
Yeah. And that's possibly, it's Northern Ireland, possibly Scotland as well.
Wow. I bet you're excited.
Yes, y'all need to get on that. Because it's amazing. It's amazing. And I've been to Northern Ireland. And talk about some energy up there. And now it is different. A little different than the Republic of Ireland. It would lean more towards there being more hostility.
Okay.
I guess. Kind of like if you were to go to like Edinburgh in Scotland. Beautiful, beautiful city. Very Gothic. Absolutely stunning. But man, do they got some places where you're like, this isn't so good for me. Can we get me out of here?
Yeah.
You know?
On one of your trips, I think, if I remember correctly, you got a really bad attachment. Am I right? Am I thinking about the right?
Are you talking about the one where it was doing that weird thing with my eye?
Your eye.
Okay. Now, and here's the thing, and it would be so easy for me to say that was something negative, but in fact, what I believe it was, and I wrote about this in Ghost Abroad Ireland. That's a separate book that is actually on Amazon as well. Where we were at, one of the places that we were investigating was the house that was next to the motel that we were staying at, Spellman's. And we went into the house with the nephew of the gentleman who used to live there. And I've gotten better at kind of keeping myself in me when I channel, so that I'm kind of aware of what's going on. But these little kiddos just jumped right on in, and they had me banging my head against the wall and just saying they're hungry, they need food, they're hungry, they need food, they need to eat. And the bread is moldy, is what they kept telling me. The bread is moldy. And so go back to the motel room. Keep in mind, took this trip, no money. no money to take this trip. Had no money. So we had packed food. And I bought a loaf of bread when we got there, because packed peanut butter and jelly. And been eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day. I mean, the food was right there. Get back to the motel room, no joke. Looked at the bread that we had just eaten that morning, and the wrapper is clear. Solid mold.
Oh my God.
Yes. Solid
crazy.
mold. And apparently the thing where my eye was doing that is, from what I understand, that is actually a side effect that can happen in children from malnutrition.
Huh.
Yes.
Interesting.
And then I had this might have been what you were talking about. I had a more of a negative attachment in a bar. I want to say it was Murphy's. I think it was Murphy's in Dublin. And this was an evil cuss.
Mm-hmm.
He was not nice. And yeah, I can do without those experiences.
Yeah. I mean, not
Yeah,
every.
he had me running out the bar.
Oh boy. I think that a lot of people think that all attachments are bad, and that's,
No.
it's not true. Just like everything else. There's
Yeah, I mean,
spirits and good spirits, and
well, and it would be really easy to assume that those children that was something negative because of what it was doing to my eye.
Right.
That would be easy to assume, but you've got to dig deeper.
Mm-hmm.
You have to dig deeper. And the way I look at it, if you're doing this for any reason other than getting famous, you're going to dig deeper. Because I'm not a jump scare girl. I don't care. I'm not one of those people that.
I know. I was with you.
Yeah, you know better than anybody. You've actually seen me in action,
Yes.
And I'm not that girl. So if it didn't happen, I'm not going to say it did. And I'm not going to claim something as evil unless I truly believe that it is. And these were children.
Yeah.
These were children, and they were just hungry.
Yeah.
And what better way for somebody to understand that than to make them feel what they were feeling? Yeah. That's why I look at it.
Yeah. Well, very well put. I mean, it's true,
Thank you.
Attachments come in all different. You don't have to be bad and evil, right?
Well, no, and I'm going to go ahead and call a spade a spade. You know what? I mean, sometimes I've said this a million times. One man's demon is another man's angel. So it depends on where you're at in life, And I mean, when I was in Virginia, and we had went to the private residence before I ever moved there, and that thing was on the top of the barn. That was something I struggled with greatly, and that's in Walking with Ghosts. That's something that I struggled with greatly because I looked that thing in the eye, and I felt like we came to an accord. So what does that make me?
Yeah. And I think you said that was probably one of the worst ones that you've done.
Yes.
I remember that's the one with the barn, right?
Yes. Bar none, worst one.
Yeah.
Worst one. Because how do you look at yourself in the mirror?
Yeah.
When you can look at something like that and you come to an understanding with it. How do you reconcile that?
Yeah.
So I mean, I went for weeks wondering, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Am I evil? And I could be. Who knows? I mean, any one of us could be. There could be something. I know there's something dark inside of me. You have to acknowledge that. In order to be a better person, you have to acknowledge that darkness. Mm-hmm. The thoughts that I can have sometimes.
We're just human.
Yeah. I'm just glad the FBI ain't all up in here, but so I keep that to myself. But it did make me question things. It really did, because I just didn't know how to deal with that, because that was my first time really dealing with something so that I felt was so negative. The stuff that happened in New Orleans and everything, that was my people, so it didn't bother me. This was different.
Yeah. Any questions? You've been quiet.
Yeah, no, I'm listeing to this whole thing. It's been great. So I do have a question, actually. I've interviewed many psychics, mediums, remote viewers, and a question that never get answered. It never ever gets answered properly. And I'm going to ask you too. I'm going to put you on the line here.
Go ahead.
There's so many missing children in the world, and there's people that that are psychics and remote viewers. Why aren't these children found verbatim? They're not found by psychics, mediums. I don't want to hear about, well, we think they're here, but they're not. Why aren't they found? Is it because the spirit does not want to be found? Still knowing that the families want closure? I have a hard time with that.
Oh, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally
I
agree.
don't like the roundabout answers of, people circle around the answer, but they never really give it to me. It's a black and white. Why aren't they found? Why isn't Natalie Holloway ever found? Why isn't all these missing children found? What's the problem?
Just to clear things up for you and I, anytime I see anything like that on social media about missing kids, if I have information, and sometimes I do, I don't go to social media with it unless I have to. So I go directly to the police department.
That's good.
What they choose to do with that is up to them. The last time when I actually had to go to social media, it was because I had already went to the police department, FBI, Crime Stoppers, back to the police department. The police department for the little girl in North Carolina actually told me, call back tomorrow. This was the second time I talked to him, completely different person. And I told them, I didn't tell them who I was this time because they don't need to know that. For all they knew, I was the next door neighbor that saw something. Turns out the picture I drew of the person that I did not know if they did it or not, but I felt there was a connection, ended up being the mom's boyfriend. So there was that. So having been said,
yeah, you're saying that the police, they don't really believe too much of what.
But here's the thing. I don't want to yell at them for that because I get it. I get it. And one of the reasons why, unless I feel a strong pull, unless I feel it, not if everybody else thinks I should feel it, but unless I feel it, I don't get involved for one very real reason, and why I don't judge the police for that. What if I'm wrong?
Yeah.
What if I'm wrong? What if I feel this and I think I'm seeing this and I tell the police this and they zig when they should have zagged and the child is dead?
Right. But
what if I'm the cause of that?
Yeah.
Now, one other thing, and I want to bring this up to anybody who's listening, because we'll see stuff like this all the time on social media. Please contact, if you've seen this person, please contact this number. If you've seen this person, please contact this number. Do not give them information if it does not have a police department's number. Because do you know that's one of the main ways predators look for victims?
Ooh, I just got the chills. Yeah.
Yes. So when you see me scrolling past one, if it doesn't have a police department's name to contact, I'm not contacting. Because that could be an ex-husband who's abusive looking for his wife or his kids, who has a restraining order against him. He could be using a friend's profile. Could be anything. It could be a mother who used to beat her kids and dad got them to save their lives, and they're in hiding somewhere. People need to be real careful. I've actually taken information. What book was this in? I want to say this was in Soulscapes. It was the one, Julia, you read that. So tell me, do you remember the guy with he was holding the beer can and it said Bud across his shirt, I think, and he had on a hat, and there were graves in front of an old farmhouse. I think that was written in Soulscapes. I think it was.
I know what you're talking about. I wish I had, you know what? And I was going to pull the books down with me too. And I forgot.
No, it's okay. All they got to do is Google me.
Yeah, no, so then I can look at it myself, but I remember, but I don't remember, like.
I think it was in that book. My cousin, who lives up north, She says, Vanessa, something about that seems familiar. She started investigating it. She actually came up with information that corroborated what I had. And so I contacted that police department up there. I don't want fanfare for that. If I help the police, which I have, find missing persons, you're never going to know about it because I don't care.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't need that recognition, nor do I want it, because with that recognition comes situations like, bless her, I talked about this on another podcast the other night, Sylvia Brown. Look at all the good she did, what she remembered for.
Yeah.
Telling those parents their daughters were dead.
Yeah. You know,
And they
you're
were in the
right.
guy's basement.
Right. Yeah.
Phil, did that answer your question?
It's sort of. It's not 100%, but it's sort of answered it. I just think that people with abilities, and again, there's a lot of fine lines here to this. I understand what you're saying, Vanessa.
Yeah, I wish we could find every single one.
Yeah,
I do. I wish we could, and I wish I had that capability. I only have access to those that come to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holly did.
Yeah.
Had full access to her. No, I could tell you exactly where she is. Julia knows that.
And some people just don't come
I
to
just
you.
got the chills again.
And I think that, and everyone who's listening to the show tonight, if you have abilities and you feel like you could help missing children, like Vanessa said, you got to take precautions, because I get what you're saying, Vanessa. You're right. That kind of brings me to like that human trafficking, and God, that's so big and it's scary right now that you got to be careful who you're talking to.
Julia and I found that out.
Yeah, it's scary, but
Horrible.
I just think that people should use their abilities to help others as best as they can. Now, I know there's nothing with science here. It's not science. It's not 1,000%. If it was, we'd all have the winning lottery numbers. But if we could help grieving families try to find, there's so many unsolved cases out there, and there's so many psychics and mediums who claim to be, I'm the one. Well, why are these people the last 50 years are still not found?
Now, I will tell you something
I want the dirt to be lifted, and I want people to get out there, do your due diligence in a proper way, and help grieving families.
I will tell you one thing that I have done on multiple occasions. I have had people come to me where I might not be able to tell them where the body is, but I can tell them who was involved in it. And they have taken that information to the police department.
That's good.
And it has worked.
Good.
And that's happened on multiple occasions. So I might, and the thing, because it's weird. It's trying to zoom in on a child, an adult, anybody that isn't connecting with your energy is almost impossible. It's like trying to find somebody's car keys remote viewing. Okay. Yeah. At least for me, I can't speak for everybody else. But if they can't tell you where they are because maybe they don't know, they can give you the image of who the last person they saw was. Now think about that. That's something. And that opens up those lines. But like I said, when I do this, the public has no knowledge of it, nor do they need to.
No.
I agree with you.
Definitely.
I definitely agree with you, because you post it on social media and you get a bunch of stupid responses from everyone on the. I agree with you 1,000,000%. But you believe in ghosts, obviously we all do.
I believe in people, living and dead. That's the way I think of it.
Yeah. So, did you ever get help from the other side, from a spirit that you contacted, and they help you find missing children or people?
Yeah, I actually got help from the person that was missing. He came to me before the police did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he came to me before the police did, but it was very confusing. This was in Oklahoma. That's all I can say. I can't say what county. I can't say any of that. I can say I was working in a different county. So I'll say what county that was. I was working in Lawton, Oklahoma. And I do dentistry, and I've told this story a million times. It's in the books, but I love it, so I'm going to share it again. I was working, minding my own business. I'm in dentistry, y'all. I mean, it's a very mundane job. It's hard, but it's mundane. And I saw this very handsome black man in one of those like a butter or lemon yellow polo shirts, the short sleeves, a little collar, and it was a beautiful spring day. It was like a picture, and a big old tree behind him, like he was in a park. Very handsome fellow. But he was showing me a picture. And then I saw him much older, looked to be at least a good 20 or 30 years older. And he was face down in kind of a weird position. And it was dried grass, like dead grass, and a little bit of snow and everything on the ground. And there was one of those, those like crosshatch fences, like on a farm. There was one of those in the distance. And I didn't know why I was getting this. And about 15 minutes later, my phone rang. And it was a friend of mine who was also in dentistry. But she wasn't working where I was at. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And she goes, my husband needs to talk to you. And I knew her husband was a cop. And I said, honey, who he's looking for has already come to me.
Wow.
And she said, what? And I said, yeah, he's already come to me. And I told her what he looked like. And she goes, yeah. And so I went and met him that night and told him what I saw, and I tried to draw it all out for him. And I even drew the picture of the person who I believe to be the person responsible. Whether she actually killed him or not, I don't know. But she was responsible for his death. And it ended up being his younger wife. Mm-hmm. And the reason he was showing me two different things is because he had Alzheimer's. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, he was showing me what he remembered of himself, and then he was showing me what he was looking at.
And that kind of brings us back to the investigation that we did in Staten Island too, where they were kind of like helping, right? The spirits were. Remember, we were on the phone with Phil, and Phil was telling us to go. What did you tell us to go?
Oh, it's so long ago.
It was just like a big.
They were leading.
Yeah. It's sort of like when they want to connect, they connect.
But they didn't know each other, I don't think. Remember, the little boy was helping us find Jennifer, I think it was.
Okay.
Holly. Yes.
Remember, we're at that little cemetery across from that restaurant. We're at that cemetery with the little church, and that cemetery had that little river behind it, and then had that little bridge, that little like fake bridge. Yep. And it was, we're talking and we're getting this information, and we're getting these feelings, which a lot of it is feelings, y'all. Let's just face it. Okay. Yeah. They don't sit down, have a smoke, and tell you everything you need to know. But so we're getting what information we can. And then we start walking back to the car, and we walk back in the opposite direction of the way that we came. And I said, we need to turn here. And we turned left to walk down those headstones. I looked down, and it was the name that Phil had been telling us.
Yes. That's what it was.
Yep.
My memory.
That's how we knew. Yeah. That's how we knew to go in this particular direction, and how we found the different things that we found, and how we ended up being at Fresh Kills. Yeah. Everything that we did that weekend led up to that. And then, yes, I know, and there's going to be some person that listens to this that says pareidolia. Okay, let's explain pareidolia, because we have a picture of what I believe to be Holly at Fresh Kills in the tree line.
Yes.
The thing with pareidolia is it gets distorted as you zoom in.
Yes.
She became more clear. Mm-hmm. And you could actually see the face. Yeah. So I don't want to hear that from people.
No,
I mean,
you're right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just gonna say it how it is. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
know?
sometimes when there's a strong connection with the spirit world, no matter who says what, you could have 10 million people say you're wrong.
Always go
When
with
you
your
know
gut.
you're right,
Right.
because the
Well,
spirit's making you feel that, and then it's hands down.
You have to go with your gut, you know?
well, see, and that's exactly, I was on a show years ago where they had me reading photographs. And I love this story because this proves I'm not just blowing smoke up your butt. Okay. I had one, I was going through all these photos, reading them, this, that, and the other. And this one photo came up, and I honestly didn't get anything from it. This fella got so mad. And I said, sir, first off, mind your tone with me. Secondly, why do you care? And he was just kind of like, what? And I said, why do you care if I get anything from this photo? I said, were you there? And he said, yeah. I said, did you take the photo? And he said, yeah. And I said, did you have an experience? And he said, yeah. I said, then why do you care what I say?
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
And that is the honest to goodness truth. I'm not going to judge anybody else's experience because it wasn't mine. And I don't give two hoots if anyone believes my experiences. I'm not put here on this earth to convince people that spirits exist.
That, you know
Yeah,
what?
that's true.
That is 100% true. I do want to give a shout out again to, I can't see, but Phil can.
Bridget
What's her last name?
Harrison.
Do you know her?
Yes,
Bridget
I do.
Harrison?
Actually,
Okay.
she lives in North Carolina. She knew exactly the case I was talking about with the little girl.
Mhm. Yes. Let's see what
She's
she
actually
said.
the one that sent me the case in the first place.
Oh, man.
The case was featured on Investigations Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah. Yeah, she knew, because she knew how frustrated I was. The
Yeah.
FBI themselves told me, because I called them. I called the FBI offices in North Carolina. I think it was, yeah. And I asked them, I said, I know I sound nuts. I know I do. But can somebody please help me?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can't guarantee it's going to save this little girl, but it sure as hell can't hurt when it's this strong.
Exactly.
The FBI wanted to take my information, but they couldn't because it was still in the jurisdiction of the local law enforcement. FBI cannot come in and take over. They have to be invited in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're the ones that told me to call Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers didn't have an email I could send it to, nor a fax machine. I had drawn him out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here is your composite sketch right here.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we're coming like to
But I've
the
seen
end of
Vanessa's pictures. They're really
yeah,
good.
I mean, yeah.
Thank
She
you.
has really good pictures.
She's one of the best
Wait.
automatic drawers that
Yeah.
I have ever seen. And I will say this to the day that I die. I've seen a lot too. I've seen a lot of people. You're very good. She's very, very good.
Thank
What
you.
are you doing? Like artist pictures?
Yeah.
Art.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have my art and everything separate. Right. But I had one person, I had somebody come to me because, you know, spirits come to me just at random. And I drew him out the way I saw him, the way he was showing himself to me, but I had no clue as to who this guy was. No clue. He wasn't telling me that, you know, anything bad happened to him. He just wanted somebody to know that he was still around.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that somebody, but I had to find that somebody. So I had him drawn out real good. I put it on Facebook, and no joke, this is why I keep my Facebook page public. This is why. Some random person I have never heard of in my life messaged me within 2 hours. They had actually they had come across that picture on my feed just through it was like divine intervention for them to see my page. And they sent me the picture of them, and I side by side, they're identical.
Crazy.
I can't explain it. And that's the other thing. People are like, how does this happen? I don't know.
That's the most simplest answer. I mean, I don't know. You don't know. And
Don't know. Don't care. Doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. Well,
We're at the end of the show.
I mean, I don't know.
Wow.
It just always
It went
goes.
quick, but thank you so much for coming on tonight.
So, and
So where
where
can people
yeah.
find you, and what do you have going on next?
Oh, good gravy. Okay. Easiest way, in all honesty, is just Google Vanessa Hogle. Easiest way. That'll take you to my Redbubble. That'll take you to my Facebook pages. That'll take you to Twitter, Instagram, Amazon. It's all there. And I have another book that I'm working on, my 8th book, called What the Soul Knows. And I'm going to be doing another Oracle deck. Selling art like crazy. So woohoo! And got a new island trip coming up. So hey.
That's awesome. Well, it's great having you on. It's been a pleasure speaking to you once again. Thank you so
You as
much.
well.
Keep us updated. We look forward to having you on again in the future.
Please do. This was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Just like, I don't know. Whenever we talk, it's just like, we're chatting on the phone. It's very cool.
The time goes so quick.
And it goes by very fast.
And just for everybody, I want to close the show with if you feel like you have abilities, try to help those that are grieving, that are missing children or victims of kidnapping. And like Vanessa said, because there's a lot of fine lines, and social media is really not the way to go with that. Yeah. I agree with you, Vanessa. Julie, wrap it up.
Yes, definitely. I want to say thank you to Bridget for joining us in chat. Thank you very much. And a special thank you to Carnation for fully sponsoring the show. We love them, and they've been sponsoring the show since day one. So please come back next Monday and join us again, same time. And stay tuned for Trish Moe with The Missing Piece.
Thank you, everyone. Have a safe, great night, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you,
Bye,
Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.